Hello, I'm Michelle, owner and practitioner of Shoji Bridge Departure Doula. About this time last year, I launched my practice, and since it was National Healthcare Decisions Day, I created a video explaining the how, what, why, and when of advance directives, or at least the first part. The first part of your advance directive is designating a person to be your representative, to advocate for you, and to make your choices known if you become incapacitated and unable to communicate yourself. That video from last year is available wherever you're watching this video. It's on all my social media, my website, shojibridge.com, and my YouTube channel. So another year has passed. It's National Healthcare Decisions time again, and I'm here to talk about the second part of your advance directives, your living will. So what do you think of when you hear living will? You probably think about the last will and testament, which is your legal document that you create to let your friends and family and people know how you want your assets and material goods distributed, taken care of, and used after you no longer own them or can use them. The last will and testament is an important document. It's one you should definitely fill out sooner rather than later. You want it to be in place well before you need it. The same goes for your living will. It's never too soon to make a plan and to fill it out. Now, chances are very good that whenever you hear living will and advance directive, you also think of death and dying. We're human beings. We don't like to think about death and dying in a general way. We more than likely would like to put it off and not think about it at all. It can be unpleasant. It can be depressing. You may think it's morbid. It also can cause downright fear and anxiety for a lot of us. So we push it off and we don't think about it, and we try not to even acknowledge that we will one day die. So it makes sense that only about 37% of us have bothered to fill out any kind of advanced care plans. Only about 33% of people have actually picked a healthcare proxy, which is a good first step, but only about 27% of us have bothered to write down our wishes on something, to document them and let our healthcare proxy and family know what we want. We have to do better, guys. That's not good. There's also a problem in that around 80% of physicians, and that's good, it gets worse the further away from a doctor you get, misinterpret or misunderstand living will themselves. As the society, including our healthcare practices and systems, we tend to believe that a living will is a document that designates how we want to die or that we want to die. And that is not the case. I believe we could solve so many of our problems. We'd get better compliance, better understanding, less trauma and grief and stress for our families, and ultimately better health outcomes and savings, money savings to our healthcare systems if people filled out their living wills and if they were understood and people were educated about what it means. It's kind of a passion project of mine. I want us to focus on the living part of the living will. It is called a living will and not a dying will, after all. So I want us to separate the living will from a document that you think talks about how you want to die. And I want you to separate it for sure from a DNR, because that is not what a living will is. So then what is a DNR? DNR stands for Do Not Resuscitate, and it is an order from a physician that states that if anything were to happen to you, if you collapse, your heart stops beating, you stop breathing, you do not want CPR or any kind of resuscitation to bring you back. Now, because this is a doctor's order, you obviously are going to have to talk to your doctor about having a DNR order. He's going to have to come to the decision with you that there is medical reasoning and that it is ethical, and that there is some chance of believing that you may not benefit or recuperate or recover from having CPR or resuscitation. If he believes that's the case, you will have a DNR order. Otherwise, if you're young and relatively healthy, You don't need a DNR, nor do you want a DNR. If you're 85, weigh 85 pounds, you're frail, you have a lot of underlying chronic illnesses or a big debilitating terminal illness, if you're reaching the bottom of your curve of life expectancy, yeah, CPR may not be the thing that you want. CPR is not a cakewalk. It is not a pleasant experience. If someone administers CPR to you, you're going to have bruises. You're going to have broken ribs or more. Your body is going to be traumatized. You're going to feel like you were hit by a truck, and you probably are going to need some sort of mechanical ventilation, respiration to keep you breathing and your heart beating until you can recuperate. But again, if you're young and healthy, there's no reason to believe that you won't. So you don't need a DNR, and you don't want to associate signing a living will as saying that you don't want to be resuscitated. We need to separate those two things. We need to focus on living in our living will, because it's not about dying or not dying. So I'm going to talk more about that in our next video. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching.